A Shalom Akyam wa Akwath, out of the elect of the nation of Israel, the nation of Yashar Allah, called Halal, wa Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, wa Rakah Kwadash, and double honor to the apostles and the elders at the great millstone, which are the men that taught me the 100% truth according to the law and the prophets. So again, welcome back to a part 2 lesson going into the year 2024, Jacob's Trouble. And on this one, we are going to entitle it Terror. Okay, Terror, right? Terror. And that's from Jeremiah, the 30th chapter and the 7th verse in the NLT. And it reads, "In all history, there has never been such a time of terror." There you go. So that's the title of this video, part 2, Terror. Okay, so we're gonna focus on the term, the definition, and the etymology of the word terror. And it says, "It will be a time of trouble for my people Israel." Now, who are the Lord's people? You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as well as the Gentiles who were Hellenized, okay, throughout the different captivities that go back to the seed line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It says, "It will be a time of trouble for my people Israel. Yet the end of what? The end of Esau's kingdom." And we're heading into Esau's kingdom, okay, very soon. We see the signs and the wonders that Yahweh Shema Shai is manifesting. So it says, "Yet in the end, they," who's the they? The they's the elect. They will be saved." So here in part 2, like I said in the intro, we will focus on the word or the term terror. Now let's go first and foremost into the etymology of the word terror. It says something that intimidates, an object of fear. Okay, it says fear, dread, alarm, panic, right? Is a time of a lot of our people here in America, they're going to panic because of the terror. And who is the root of terror on both sides? Because you have a actual power that's controlling the opposition, and the opposition in the Most High's movie is the who they call the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, Idumea. Now let's go into the book of Job, chapter 18 and verse 14. Now this scripture here, this is actually speaking about Esau, Edom, okay, the so-called proclaimed white man. But this scripture can also be used twofold. It can be applied to the majority of our people who will not make it during Jacob's trouble because they were not of the Lord's elect. So this is Job 18 and 14. And it reads, "His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle." Yeah, and that confidence that our people have. And what is that confidence? That confidence that our people have, okay, is their confidence in Egypt. Whether it's the their money, okay, their currency, their wealth, their possessions. This is the book of Isaiah 31 and verse 1. "Woe to them," right? They're speaking to the 2/3 of our people. The Lord said, "Woe, alas," right, "to them that go to Egypt for help." Yeah, because when all hell break loose, when the economy collapses, which that's a major prophecy, a lot of our people are going to go down to Egypt, to the so-called proclaimed white men, for help. And that help will come in the form of a mark. What is that mark? The mark of the beast. It says, "And stay on horses and trust in chariots." So a lot of our people are going to trust And Esau's, not only Esau's military and his blessing, which is a sword, but mainly his artificial intelligence. That's another example of Egypt's modern day horses and chariots, because they are many, and horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not, yeah, our people, they look for everything in Esau's kingdom except who? The Holy One of Israel. Neither seek Yahweh Shemel Shai. So when you go back to Job chapter 18, where it says, let me get it right, 14, his confidence, right? A lot of our people's confidence, their trust in Egypt will be rooted out. Okay? It says, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. You see that? And who's the king of terrors? Hey, Yahweh Shemel Shai. And all throughout history, you study the history of the the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the different heathen nations who went to war against our ancestors, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. They've always knew, or they've known there was a higher power, and they used to call the higher power by the title of Allah Shadya, all right, or Allah Shadya, which means a terrible power, and that's who the king of terror is. Okay, Malak Allah Shadya, right, the king of terrors. Verse 15, it shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. And brimstone, let me get an example of brimstone here for you, Akim. Let's go on images. Fire. Alright. Matter of fact, to give you Akim better example, let's get the definition of brimstone. It says, an archaic term synonymous with sulfur, evokes the archaic odor of sulfur dioxide given off by lightning strikes. The association of sulfur with divine retribution is common in the Bible. So, that's the Lord's judgment. And a more complex term for brimstone is what we know as the nuclear holocaust via nuclear weapons. And now, these last days, the year 2024, when you click on images, okay, you see the heathen who now have possessions of thousands of hundreds of nuclear arsenal, and that's an example of terror. Okay, the time of terror. Okay, that nuclear holocaust, and it's only going to intensify before that nuclear holocaust gets active. That's why, going back to Jeremiah 37, in all history, okay, and when you break down the word history, is his story, okay, with a he, that's a man, okay, the story of a man. And throughout society, there's always been wars and civil wars, okay, World War I, World War II, but this one that's coming down the pipe is World War III. That's an example of a time of trouble for the nation of Israel, okay, because the majority of the Hebrew Israelites of the 12 tribes are actually here in Babylon the Great in America. Going back to the word terror, it says terrible news. Okay, terrible news. Now let's type in terrible news in the NLT. Let's see what comes out. This is Psalms 112 and verse 7. They do not fear bad news. Yeah, it's speaking about the elect. When all hell break loose, the elect, starting with the prophets, they will not fear bad news. Why? Because their spirit was prepared. They were preparing their spirit throughout time of the bad news to come. And really, it's good news. That's where you get the word gospel. So for a lot of our people, when all hell break loose, Jacob's trouble at its peak, that's bad news for them. But for us, Akim wa Akwath, if we continue in the faith, that's actually good news. They they confidently trust the Lord to care for them. They are confident and fearless, and that's what makes a man of the Lord. You gotta be fearless and can face their foes, right? The heathen, starting with Esau, triumphantly, and that happens. That's going to happen with, trusting in the in Yahweh Shema Shai. It says fear, frightening, tremble, and that's what we're telling our people. A tremble ye that are not in the fear of Yahweh Shema Shai. Second Ezra 15 and 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, right? An example of prophecy is Jeremiah 30 and 7. A time of terror, a time of Jacob's trouble, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Yeah, the words of the Lord are faithful and true. And Jacob's trouble will come to pass. This is Amos chapter 5 and verse, chapter 5 and verse, give me a second, 5 and 19. I'll start at 16. Amos 5 and 16. And it reads, therefore, the Lord, the God of hosts, the Lord saith thus, wailing shall be in all streets, and they shall say in all the highways, alas. Man, that's beautiful. So here in the 16th verse of Amos, the 5th chapter, the word alas comes out like it does in Jeremiah 30 and 7 in the King James Version. And that was the previous title of part 1 of this volume, right? Jeremiah 30 and 7, Allah's for that day is great. See that? So that same word Allah's is back in Amos chapter 5 verse 16. Allah's, and it says twice, right? And they shall call the husbandmen to mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing. Verse 17, and in all vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith the Lord. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. And that's a lot of our people who are in these different religions, whether they're Muslims or Christians, Catholics. They speak about different doctrines. For example, the rapture, the Lord's coming back, and they won't have to go through tribulation. They desire to see their the white image, right? The false Messiah. But the Lord said, hey, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. Because even a lot of our people, they think the Lord looks like a so-called white man. And that's not true. Okay, it says, to what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light, right? It's not pitches and with cream pie, cherry on top. It ain't dessert and Snickers, snacks, Kit Kats. Nah, hey, the day of the Lord will be a glorious day for the elect, but for a lot of our people here in Babylon, it's gonna be a day of darkness. Verse 19, as if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him. Yeah, and that's an example of Jacob's trouble. You're always on the move, going from block to block, street to street, city to city, state to state, depending on your lot. You think you're gonna escape, you know, the Lord's judgment. But guess what? It says, as if a verse 19, as if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand upon the wall. Yeah, you got, you're running away from a lion, and and then you meet with the bear, whatever kind of bear, grizzly bear, polar bear, right? Whether you're might end up in the North Pole, you just never know. But any kind of bear, and you run away from, and you find yourself in this secret cabinet where you could just hide from the lion and the bear, which these are symbolisms to Esau's military, NATO and the EU, but it also applies to actual physical animals, because when all hell break loose, best believe that these zoo animals, will go wild. They'll go back to their true nature and escape the uh, the zoos. Why? Because they're going to be hungry. You will not have no humans to feed them, right? To keep them in a domestic spirit. So they're going to flee from those zoos. It says, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall, and a serpent bit him. Really, because Jacob's trouble, hey, there's going to be no way out unless Yahweh Bashim Shai is with you. Verse 20, should not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? Yeah, it ain't going to be a walk in the park. Hey, the scripture says, that the elect will barely make it, man. Okay, hey, the men of the Lord, the prophets, primarily with the apostles and the elders, hey, they're barely gonna make it. How much more, 2/3 of our people here in Babylon and those who are scattered abroad. First Peter 4:18, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, it's like a barely, man, barely gonna make it, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Yeah, it's going to be worse for them. Wherefore, let them that suffer according to the will of God commit the keeping of their souls to him in well doing as unto a faithful creator. Yeah, because the elect will be faithful unto the end. Matter of fact, that's actually a prophecy in Sirach out of the Apocrypha. Sirach 36:16. Reward them that wait for thee, and let thy prophets be found faithful. You see, and that's an example of those who will be scarcely be saved, along with the children and the rest of the men who were helpers of the prophets. So, the day of terror is at hand, Akim. And what I want to end up this lesson with is the definition of the word terror, because we got the etymology.
Terror.
Extreme fear, horror, fright, shock, alarm. Okay? So, man. Fear and trembling. Right? It says fear and trembling. Now, you could have a righteous fear towards, on the right hand side towards the Lord, because really that's who we're really afraid of, the Lord, because he's the one in control. Philippians 2:12, wherefore my beloved, the house of David, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with terror, right? With fear and trembling. And how you work out your own salvation? Well, it tells you in the scriptures, put on as the elect. Put on therefore, this is Colossians 3:12, put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness, of mind, meekness, long suffering. Right? These are examples of putting on as the elect. And you can also read Psalms, the 15th chapter, where it speaks about the attributes of the house of David. And the attributes of the house of David, pretty much is a man who keeps his virtues, right? His virtues. He keeps his integrity by doing well, by speaking the truth, speaking prophecy, and doing what's best for the ministry for the house of David. Hey, but with that, again, Akim, this was a part two. Okay, Jacob's trouble will be very very terrible. Okay, which that's where you get the word terror. Okay, the king of terrors, man, will um, bring forth Jacob's trouble through Esau, Edom, which is the left side of the Lord. With that, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashim Al Shai Bashem Rakak Wadash. Again, this was a part two entitled The Year 2024, Jacob's Trouble, Terror. Shalom.